Hello, anybody there?
Yeah, we're here. Hi, Steve.
Okay.
This is
Hey, how
Quan.
are you?
Doing well.
Quan, nice to hear your voice.
Let me put this on. All right. Let me put my phones on mute here so it doesn't disrupt us when we get started. But this is going to be a good event. We'll get going when 7 o'clock time comes.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Brad had just said that maybe we'll log on just a little earlier if we needed to test out any of our stuff.
Yeah, seems like Rick's got everything up and running. So
Okay.
so far 8.
Hey,
So yeah, I just unmuted myself. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this on until 5:55 and then 5:59 and then I'll put you on Quan.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Are you going to control the slide deck?
Yeah, I'm gonna control the slides and then once Stephen begins his presentation, I'll spotlight him and he'll be on screen. So I mean we have the format in front of us, so it should be pretty good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good.
Okay. So I'm good to when that time comes, just hit my screen share and go to what I have.
Let me make you a co-host really quick, Steve, before I forget.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Let's do that right now.
how you doing, Steve?
Hey, I'm good.
Okay, Steve, did you get new options on your screen? So share the
Yeah.
screen.
Where would I see those options?
Okay.
View options.
You should have a share screen option on your screen now when you're turning.
Yeah, well, it's now asking me to admit people. So yeah, I'm assuming I'm a co-host now.
Okay, good. All right. So once Quan's done with his spiel and you begin, I will let you take the lead from there.
Okay, and then I'll just be able to normally hit my share screen and go to what I have and open it.
It should
Is
work.
that-
Yes, we tested it with a few other different people today. So
Okay, great, perfect.
yeah.
Thanks.
Rick, this is Brad Pollock. Thanks so much for all your help with all this.
Of course. Hold on. Let me put my camera on. I was waiting for other people to join in. There you go. I'm on camera. Yeah, of course. I remember I met you at the Business Expo.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Absolutely. Well, we're happy to be doing this.
Sounds good. Yeah, should be good information.
So Rick, have we met up at the Whittier Wake Up Whittier breakfast? Are you usually there at those?
I mean, I've been there about a year, so I'm assuming if you've been to.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I just hit a year on May the 4th.
Ah, okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Also, I'm never gonna forget that day, May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
Exactly.
Very good.
I just went
Very
to
good.
Disneyland this Saturday too, so it was fun, but it was like 92 degrees. That was the only downside.
I like this group already.
So here's my schedule. I will join you tonight. I will be out of the country next Monday, so Carol will take over, and then I'll join back on the 3rd and the 4th session. And then hopefully we can get this recorded, and then if more interest, and we can do some other things going forward, because there, a lot of folks
I'm
are.
gonna cook while I listen to this, because I'm quite sure they'll give us the.
Okay, she muted herself. How many we got? How many's registered, Rick?
Right now, 27.
That's good. It's a good number.
Very good.
2 of them told me they were unable to make it tonight, and they just view the recording later.
Okay.
All right. In 1 minute, I'm going to take off the screen share, and I'm going to spotlight you, Quan, and then I'll go through the 2 slides. and then put it on,
Got about a minute, minute and a half.
Yeah.
How you doing, Mr. Huntley?
I'm good, sir. Happy to be here.
Very glad.
Hey,
you're
no
here.
no heckling, no heckling.
No, I'm glad we got Richardson in the leadoff spot. I think I feel much better about that. Break a leg, Steve. You're gonna do great.
I only worry about the hecklers.
Well, it's not coming from me. And Carrie's not on the call, so you'll be safe.
Oh, then I am safe, yeah.
You guys are all going to be in the hot spot here, so you're going to change the economy of our Southern California, period. Is that you, Rick? That's
Yeah, I'm gonna spotlight you right now because it's about to be 6 o'clock.
all right.
All right, and you are on spotlight. You'll get started in about a minute. I'm gonna get the PowerPoint ready on my screen as you're speaking. Perfect. Okay, we're ready to go when you want to start.
Okay, so everybody sees the PowerPoint screens?
Yeah, right now it should just be you, and then once you're done,
Okay,
then I'll
let's
put on
get
the
started. Okay,
PowerPoint.
so it's 6 p.m., so it's just honor everybody's time. Let's get started. Welcome, everybody. My name is Quan Lee, and I am the chair of the Whittier Chamber Board of Directors. Thanks to each of you for joining us for the kickoff to our 4-part financial bootcamp workshop series. The Whittier Chamber is proud to partner with the Long Beach Small Business Development Center to offer these workshops, which are intended to help us restart our economy and help our local businesses thrive. Next slide. All right, and I would like to thank our corporate sponsors, Friendly Hills Bank, and particularly new president and CEO Nathan Rogue and executive vice president Liz Buckingham for their support. Next slide. Okay, Friendly Hills Bank has local branches in Whittier and Santa Fe Springs and offers a personalized approach to banking. Their experienced team focuses on delivering exceptional customer service and building relationships with their clients, including small to medium-sized businesses. To introduce this evening's instructor and tell you more about the workshop series, I'll turn it over to Brad Pollock, the director of the Long Beach Small Business Development Center.
Thank you, Quan. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. And Rick, thanks for handling all of this for the chamber.
Of course.
Also, thanks very much to Friendly Hills Bank and to Carol Crosby, who I know is not on the call, but Friendly Hills Bank, thanks for being the sponsor. Much appreciated. So as Quan was saying, my name is Brad Pollock, and I'm the director of the Long Beach Small Business Development Center. And we at the SBDC, as it's known, we've put together this 4-class workshop series to help businesses really have a better understanding of their financial health, to understand how to navigate the world of finances. We learned a lot during COVID about businesses not really being that comfortable with understanding their situation on the financial side of things, which made it difficult at times for them to get loans and to stave off challenges and to grow. And there's no reason for that. So the purpose of this series, starting tonight, is to just shed some light on all of these topics that pertain mostly to financials, and to demystify the language of it all. And so starting tonight, this first class, which is all the classes are at 6 o'clock. There's this tonight, which is May 16th, which is Steve Richardson, who's going to be teaching his class, The Fundamentals of a Small Business, which you'll find very interesting, very helpful as it sort of connects all the dots with all the things that we're going to be talking about with financials. And then next week on May 23rd, our business advisor, Small Business Development Center business advisor, Mike Huntley, is going to be diving into the world of understanding your financials and really demystifying the language of it all. And then 2 weeks later, on June 6th, our SBDC business advisor, Max Ordonez, is going to talk very specifically about how to secure a loan. And then on the 13th of June, we're going to bring all the instructors together and myself, and we're going to have a panel that's going to be a live Q&A for all of you to ask any questions having to do with anything that will have been brought up on these during these 3 classes that you will have taken. So So it's a really great opportunity to just sit back and enjoy the ride and understand that you don't have to be mystified by things that are happening in the world of your financials. And all of the advisors are experts in their particular areas, and they're happy to be here. They're great instructors. And tonight, Steve Richardson, who will be leading the charge, is, as I was saying before, is going to be teaching his class, Fundamentals of Small Business. And Steve is a very experienced business advisor. He's run for-profit businesses, nonprofit businesses. He specializes in leadership and management and helping businesses really understand how to become more profitable. So, Steve, thank you for doing this. I'd like to turn it over to you. And just, if you have questions along the way, what I would like to suggest is that you type your questions into the chat, and Steve will sort of get to them, and we'll help him get to them as well if needed along the way. So Steve, take it away, and thanks for being here.
All right, thanks, Brad. Let me share the screen and we will get going. And I am just going to do this. Hopefully everybody can see that just fine. As Brad was saying, my name is Steve Richardson, and just to give you a little background as to why, of all people, I would be talking to you about what is the basic fundamentals of a small business. During my career, I owned a retail business, I owned a construction business, and I also owned a professional services business. And when I gave all those up and sold some of them, I then entered into a phase of helping businesses turn around. So I have worked in the for-profit and the nonprofit side, working with businesses in crisis. I've dealt with every sort of business you can think of. And I'm often asked the question, well, Steve, how can you walk into so many different types of businesses and still be effective and be successful in helping those businesses succeed? And I thought about this question many, many times when I would talk to people, and I have come up with a paradigm. And so tonight, I'm going to share with you my paradigm for what I think is true for every business, and it's certainly going to be true for your business. And so it starts off with a triangle, and I affectionately refer to this triangle as the 3 Ps, because the 3 words that I'm going to share with you all begin with the letter P. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is, as we kind of go through this, I'm going to give you the first P, and then I'm going to open it up for you guys to guess on what the next 2 are as we discuss this. And then we'll talk about each one of these particular aspects of business in more detail. And hopefully, if there's questions along the way, I'll give a little time for that. And then we'll have some Q&A at the end to try to answer any questions that we haven't answered along the way. And so let's start off with the first P of my pyramid. Every business, guess what, has people. And we're going to talk in a little bit about what type of people every business has, but we all really know, we never talk about it because we tend to make business a little more complicated than it actually is. We all have people in our business. So let me ask you, if anybody's bold enough, and you can just unmute and say something, what do you think the second P of this pyramid would be? Don't be bashful. Even though I can't see you, be bold.
Profit.
Well, what do you know? That is absolutely correct. In fact, profit is our second P. And so who said that? I want to know your name.
Martha.
Martha. Good job, Martha. Thank you. And so every business has people. Every business cannot exist if at some point they do not make a profit. And one of the things you're going to learn next week is ways to look at your finances so that indeed you know whether or not you're making a profit. So who would like to guess the third P of my triangle? Oh, I know somebody's willing. You can be wrong. I won't critique you too badly.
Productivity.
You know, That's a form of the word. It's a form of the word. Can we simplify that word?
Progress?
No, not progress. We were very close on productivity, but just a slightly, maybe the noun form, not the verb.
Production?
Production,
Product.
product. Who said product? That's it. That's our third P to this pyramid. Now, what I want to share with all of you is that my triangle spins. And so sometimes people is on the top, sometimes profit is on the top, sometimes product is on the top. But what I've learned through the years is that regardless of the business, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's retail, whether it's construction, whether it's professional services, whether it's personal services, you have these three things in your business. You have a product, there are people, and the goal is to make a profit. Now, if there happen to be some nonprofit organizations on the call tonight, believe it or not, even though you're a nonprofit by definition, if you don't make a profit or have more income than you have expenses, you won't be able to continue to be a nonprofit. And so this model works for the for-profit and the nonprofit environment. And so when I would walk into a company, I would begin my filter, the glasses that I would have on so that I could get to the core of where the issues were, is I would start looking at these three main areas. I'd start looking at the people. I'd start looking at the products that the company had. And then I'd start looking at the financials to see whether this business was profitable, and if it wasn't, why. And so there are things in each one of these categories. And the first thing we're going to talk about is people. Believe it or not, every business has three groups of people. And here they are. I'm not going to make you guess this because we're going to talk about them. Every business has employees, they have customers, and they have vendors. So let me give you very quick definitions. Employees are people that work for your business. Customers are people who buy from your business. Vendors are companies or individuals that supply your business. And a successful business, in fact, every business, whether you're successful or not, has to have a relationship with these three groups of people. Now, I always ask this question because I'm always open up to new things. Does anybody have a group of people that does not fall into one of these groups in their business? Anybody want to throw something out there? If the silence remains, then my three groups will be true to form. Okay, great. So let's talk about each of the groups of people. When I walk into a business, the first thing I'm going to ask myself is, are the employees happy? Are the employees motivated? And are the employees productive? Because a lot of times the problem with a business is unhappy employees. Now, there's a variety of reasons why they would be unhappy, but our goal should always be with our employees that they be happy. And, I mean, they don't have to be our best friends and we don't have to buy them presents all the time, but when they come to work, they're actually glad to come to work. They're motivated. That's the leadership that you give your company. And then there's enough accountability and goals for where the company's going that they can be productive. The next category we have is customers. These are the people who buy your product. And this is where so many of you I know like to get advice on marketing. How do we appeal to our customers? How do we get people to buy our products? But what I have found more often than not when I walk into companies, the biggest question that many times businesses don't ask is, are our current customers happy? And so the customer side is two things. How do we secure new customers? Are our customers happy, the ones that we have? And then this third group is vendors. If you're a manufacturer, you have to get raw materials from somebody. That's a vendor. If you're in the retail business and you sell a product, you have to buy that product wholesale from somebody. That's a vendor. If you do any types of repairs and you need tools in your business, you buy your tools from a vendor. And so what type of relationship do we need to have with our vendors? Well, we want our vendors to get our stuff to us in a very timely manner. We want our vendors to give us, if possible, preferred discount structures. And so what does it take in that type of relationship with vendors for that to happen? First of all, we have to pay on time. Secondly, we have to have enough conversation with our vendors so that they know that we're going to be a consistent customer and that we have timely orders so that they too can monitor their business. And so the people aspect of a business is somewhat complex. This is where all the leadership issues come into play. How do I manage employees well? How do I know if my customers are happy? How do I market to them effectively? How do I keep positive relationships with my vendors so I don't end up with supply chain problems in my own business? All right, let me pause there. Questions on people? Anyone? Okay, you're not a very chatty group so far. So I'll move on and allow you to get more chatty as we go on. So let's talk for a moment about product. There are two types of product that every business has. And so I am going to make you participate with me here and jump in. What's the first type of product that a company has? Anyone? Come on, folks, you're hurting me. You're hurting me here.
Professional services.
Professional services. Okay, I am going to accept that, and I'm just going to take off the word professional and just say services. Because if you're a lawyer, you're providing professional services. If you're an accountant, you're providing professional services. If you're a plumber, it's kind of professional services, but we usually don't put it in that category. It's a service. So services is one. What's the second product? Everybody in business sells one of the other, services or
Product.
who's what now? Wait a minute. What did you say?
I said services or product, some kind of product.
Okay, now, I like your answer. But our big word is product. And so there's two types of products. One type of product is services. The second type of product is going to be what?
Goods.
Yes, who said that? Identify your.
Audrey, and I also saw somebody typed in the chat at the same time. So both of us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not following the chat as well as I probably should, but I lead the chat to other people sometimes. So here we go. Goods and services. What is a good? A good is a thing. It's shoes. It's a tool. It's a bag of wheat. A good can be anything. And when we have most of you that are in retail, you're in the goods business. You're selling something to somebody. When we think about Amazon, when you go order something from Amazon, I'd say 99% of the time, you're actually getting something in a box arriving at your home. That's a good. When we think of services, we think of something that somebody does for you. And so that could be accounting services, it could be bookkeeping services, it could be plumbing services. There's a variety of different services. And so the majority of businesses fall into one category of product or the other. There are a few businesses that do both. And there is a big glaring one that all of us have had exposure to at one time or another. Can somebody name a business that has both goods and services as their product?
Insurance.
Okay, explain that one to me. Why insurance?
I provide the services to connect the product, which is the actual insurance policy.
Okay, okay. Another? All right, let me give you one that all of us have experience with. A new car dealership. A new car dealership does what? They sell cars, as we all know. But what happens to that car when it gets a little older? Or it needs an oil change. We take that car back to that same dealer, not to get another car, but to have our car serviced. And so there's a unique, the new car dealerships is a very unique model. They sell an expensive good, which is a car, but do you know that the profit in a new car dealership is all in the service? New car dealerships make very little profit on selling cars, but they make a huge profit on servicing those cars. So there are some of our businesses that have both. And so one of the things that I have to do when I walk into a business, I have to ask myself the basic question about their product. Are they selling a good or are they delivering a service? And if they're doing both, what is the combination here that we're going to have to look at? Now, one of the things about selling goods or service is the product. First question, is the product good? Not goods, but are the goods good? Okay, yeah, that's my joke for the night. You can take that one or leave it. But we judge our customers up here under people will many times judge us not only on the attitude of our employees, but on the quality of our goods and our services. And so you see how those start to connect in. We, as a business, may switch around vendors so that we can get a better price or better quality to our goods that we deliver. And so that's how the products operate. Now, let's take up the third one and then we'll tie everything together. When we talk about profit, oh, by the way, let me pause for questions. Maybe I should check the chat and see if
There aren't any questions yet in the chat.
okay, thank you so much for the help. I appreciate it. Oops, oh my, look, I hit the wrong button. So here we go. Okay, now profit. I've always found this very interesting for most groups. When I ask most business owners why they make a profit, their answer is to make money. I want a profit, so I make money. And that is not really the answer. If we really focus in on profit in a business, really the number one reason that a lot of owners want a profit is so that they can keep their people employed. Let me give you a personal example for this one. I mentioned that I owned a construction company, and that particular construction company at one point had 50 to 60 employees. You know what I thought about most days with that business? Because the construction business is pretty cyclical. You can have feast or famine. I thought about keeping everybody paid. I thought about making payroll. And so I wanted to be profitable so I could keep those 50 to 60 people being able to have an income so that they could support their families. And so a lot of times a business owner, even though they say, well, I want to profit because I want to make money, really, when you start to have a number of employees, It's really about you want to be profitable so that you can keep your people employed. The other reason that we want to be profitable is so that we can expand our business, so that we can grow. If we're not profitable, as you're going to learn in the session about getting loans, it's going to be hard to get a loan. Banks want to see a trend of us making money, not losing money. And so for us to expand our business and maybe get the loans to buy new products or expand our services or to hire new employees, we have to be profitable. And then third on the list is rewarding investors and owners. And that's traditionally where everybody says, I want to make money. But if you have partners and as an owner, of course, you should be rewarded. Now, I'll tell you something I run into a lot in dealing with small businesses. I find owners that are working very hard to keep people employed. They're working hard to have profitability to expand their business. And then when I look at how they themselves are being rewarded from the company, it's not very much. And so we want to work hard to help owners and investors experience reward also. So there's the model. That is the paradigm. There is, every business operates this way. Now, let's start playing with this model. And I'm going to ask you a question. When a company calls me and they're in trouble and they want me to come in and do something to fix their company, what do you think is the number one reason they're calling me? Anybody want to make a guess?
Not profitable enough?
Absolutely, not profitable enough. Almost every company I've ever worked with had to be in enough financial pain for them to call me. So they would call me and say, Steve, we're just losing money. We may not be able to make payroll in 2 months. And so we want you to come in, we want you to take a look at things. Okay, so I come in, I take a look, and guess what? They are 100% right. They are not profitable. They are not making money. But you know what? What they haven't been looking at is the people or their product. And so I think what I want to convey to everybody in really being effective in business is sometimes we won't make the changes necessary until we feel pain. And usually people will not do anything until they feel the financial pain of the profit. Seldom is just whether they're profitable or not really the issue. Profit is almost always the symptom of people and product. It almost always works that way. Now, most people will assume that there's something wrong with their product, and that's why they're not profitable. I would say, in my experience, about 30% of the time, that has been true. They had a product that had become dated, was no longer popular with customers. Other competitors had brought in better products. They had services that had not kept up to speed. They were not delivering the same quality services as new businesses. And so about 30% of the time, their lack of profit was due that they had poor product. But you know what 70% of the time is? People. And it usually falls into this category. Well, it's almost a trifecta sometimes. Usually their vendors are not happy with them because they're not paying. Their customers are not happy with them because they're not responding. And their employees are not happy with them because there's just a negative attitude in the company. We're not profitable. You're pressing employees to do more. without really any explanation. And so employees kind of feel the pressure even if you don't say anything. And so the negativity on employees, customers, and vendors is usually the biggest problem. And so how, if you were walking into a company and they called you and said, we're having profit problems, and you go into the company and you look at the product and the products are okay, what are you going to do about the people? Any ideas?
Talk to them.
Okay, great, that's great. Who are you going to talk to first?
First, you're going to talk to the owner to get his or her assessment, and then talk to each of the individual employees to get their version of the story.
More than likely. Let me tell you something about owners. When the owner calls me in, he says, we're not making money and we need to make money. Okay. So now it's left to you. So I'm teaching all of you how to be your own turnaround specialist in your own business. And so in this particular business we're talking about, the goods and services are okay. So what we have to do is the very, very, very first people we talk to is actually the customers. Because why? Because we're bleeding profit. We're not making money. And so the very, very first thing we have to find out is, what do our current customers think about us? And so we have to do some sort of customer survey. We have to reach out. We have to kind of do that. The second group we talk to are our employees. And we ask them, and here's how we ask this. We ask 3 questions. What's it like to work here? What do you think of our product? And what would make your life better here at the company? Now we know what our employees think. Then, believe it or not, we're going to then ask our vendors what they think about us. Third. So it goes customers, employees, vendors. What do you think we will discover?
Management.
Remember, we don't really have a problem with our product, but we're losing profit. So what do you think we'll discover when we talk to our customers? Anyone can chime in.
Responsiveness is a problem.
Yeah, usually, yeah, very close. Usually customers will say, what do you think of the product? We like it. What do you think of your customer service? We hate it. It's almost like that. If the product's okay, it's usually customer service. And really, customer service has nothing to do with marketing or social media advertising. It's not acquiring new customers. It's taking care of the customers you have. And this is where most of the problems come into play. And then the other problem that happens is employees. Employees will say, this is usually the thing that comes, I don't know what they want me to do. I'm working too hard. It's not a very fun place to work anymore. My top 3. Vendors are easier. If you'd pay me on time, I'd be happy. You know, so they have their own issues, their own company. Now, that's what happens when they say, we're not making a profit, but the goods are okay. Now let's reverse this around. Anybody have a question at that point?
Yeah, Steve, I have a question.
Yeah.
In your experience, when you find that the problem is customer service, let's say, what have you found to be the main hurdle for owners to not know but they have a customer service problem? Like, why does that, if you find out that the customer service is a big source of the problem, what is it in your experience that has prevented the owner from knowing that there's a customer service problem in the first place?
Either they're not told that by their key employees that oversee that, or else, and this is the more common problem, is that they are so focused on acquiring new customers that they pay no attention to existing customers.
Got it.
And that is the number one. They're just so focused on new acquisitions that they don't give a thought to taking care of existing customers. But what everybody doesn't realize is existing customers are 90% of your repeat business, not new customers. And so this is where they have to focus in. Okay, any other questions on that? Okay, let's take a different scenario. Once again, the entry point is profit. It's always profit. No one ever calls me up and say, I have unhappy employees. No one ever calls and says that. No one ever calls and says, you know, we need help with our customers. They may call and say, I want help with marketing. They never call about their vendors. Very seldom do they call and say, my product is sucky. But they'll always call when they're not making money. And so we go in, and this time I discovered that, wow, their employees are really engaged. Their customers, we can't really tell on the customers. The feedback we're getting is that maybe the product isn't that good. And this person and this company sells a good and not a service. So now the reason I don't have profitability is I actually have a product problem. Now what do I do? I'm open to suggestions, anybody.
Customer surveys.
Okay, and what would you ask in the survey?
To again, like ask about what do they like or dislike about the product.
Okay, what happens if you have a line of products? Do you ask about all the products, or do you only ask about the product that you're guessing is the one that people don't like?
We'll probably do, yeah, a little bit of like at the back end, kind of do a research and see what it is selling and not selling, and then focus on whatever, you know, there's a lack of sales. And then kind of target that product.
Okay, yeah. When it's the product that's the problem, it's a little more difficult, and I'll tell you why. Usually, a company has invested in the product, and so now this product that may not be that good, we have to figure out a way to unload the product or get a new vendor back over to vendor to get us a different product that's better, or we have to make a decision to discontinue that product and introduce a new product or an updated product. And so the timeline, people problems, I can fix a little faster than I can product problems. And so now we have a different horizon line for when we can get to a profitability. I can fix people problems, believe it or not, quicker than I can fix product problems. And so that puts us in a little different scenario. So if you're a business owner and you come to the conclusion as you look at the 3 Ps in your business, and you decide you have a product problem, then you're going to have to allow yourself a longer timeline to fix it. And what that means financially for you is that not necessarily profitability, but you're going to have cash flow to fix it if you're not being profitable on the goods and services. Now, if you're a service business, we can fix it quicker because it's not a thing. And so if there's something you need to add to your services, we can do that much more quickly. If there's something you need to change about how you're delivering your services, you can do that much more quickly. But if you're in the business of selling things and delivering a product, and all of a sudden, one of the issues with product profitability is the lack of a good product, that's a longer horizon for us. And so we have to build a different strategy. So there's a little different strategy for fixing product problems than there is a strategy for fixing people problems. When we have them both fixed, it almost always results in a profitable business. So seldom do I ever walk in and just say that you're not doing the books well, or you're not reading your P&L right. Usually their lack of profit is a people problem or a product problem. And our ratio is 70% people problem, 30% product problem as a rule. All right, let me open it up for some general conversation and anything you'd like to ask me about this model, because I've done this model in a variety of settings.
Steve, another question.
Yeah.
So on the profit side, in your experience, for those businesses that haven't been necessarily too comfortable with reading P&Ls or balance sheets, have you encountered like a common denominator of the areas within the areas of finance that have been particularly troublesome to owners to really understand if they are profitable?
Yeah, good question. Okay, I can best answer it this way. Let's make the assumption right now that the product is fine and the people are fine. What's happening is that the business is actually generating some sort of profit, but the owner is confusing profit with cash flow, which is a financial issue. And so what that means is cash flow is the money that you actually deposit into the bank. Profit is what shows up, the difference between your sales and your expenses, and the net down there, you get a profit. They think that if they see a profit that they have cash, and in reality, they can be spending more cash than they have profit. And so, yes, it is possible to have a business showing a profit, but be in trouble because they don't manage the cash. And those are two different things. And that is one thing that you will learn about in the next session on managing your finances, is the difference between cash flow and profit and loss statements. So yes, it does happen. Most of the companies that would call me in, though, are having definite loss on their P&L reports and not just a misuse of cash. But it is possible for a small business to definitely actually be making a profit, but losing money because they're using up the cash and they don't have cash when they should have cash.
And are you
All
saying,
right,
are you saying that one of the big pain points that drives an owner to call you is getting close to the point where he or she can't meet payroll?
Yep. Yes, they can't meet payroll is a driving force. It's a major pain point. The other one, if suddenly they can't do debt service or handle their lines of, or no longer meet the minimum payments on their lines of credit. And let's say they have a decent line of credit to buy their product to keep their business going, and suddenly they can't do that. Then that becomes a pain point. The pain points are usually when they don't have the cash to do something critical. And meeting payroll is number one.
So
So what-
obviously,
yeah.
it would help to have good systems in place to know beforehand, or to know with enough advance notice that there's going to be a potential pain point, right?
Financially is to have good financial systems in place to understand, really to understand the difference between profit and loss and cash flow. How much cash is actually flowing through your business. The other thing,
I know, I'm gonna do it after. Yeah.
oh, okay. The other thing is as a small business owner, looking at this paradigm, I would want to have something in place that I could consistently not only manage my profitability, which is my financials, but I want to have some sort of review system in place to manage my product. Is my product good? Is the thing I'm selling, is it good? Is it still relevant? Are my services relevant? And then on the people, I want to know, are my employees, I want to do things to determine if my employees are happy, motivated, and productive. I want to know if my current customers are happy with us. And then, of course, marketing is to secure new customers. I want to make certain that our relationship with our vendors is okay. You know, that they really aren't sitting over at their place saying, man, I can't stand ABC company. They give me a huge order, then they give me a little order, they don't pay on time, all the things a vendor might say. And so if as a business owner, you're willing to take a different perspective of your business and think about the people and put some check and balance in place for that, and think about your product, some check and balance, and then your financials, your profit, you will be much happier because you're ahead of the game. Things will not sneak up on you in your business. Okay, other questions?
I'm typing up a question for you, Steve.
Oh,
Basically-
are you? Okay, let
Yeah,
me,
so based on your presentation, what
yeah.
are the ideal profit margins? Because not everybody's going to have employee issues, because it may be a mom and pop operation where maybe one or two owners who are just running the business with no employees and just paying whatever the net profit is. So the question to you is, on certain industry, do you recommend what the profit margin should be ideally, like for a restaurant or maybe a clothing operation? You can maybe share that. That way people can walk away, because we understand the durable and non-durable goods. You know, durable is something that'll last over 3 years. Non-durable is less than 3 years, and how often we have to replace some of those equipments and whatever we may have to.
Right.
So based on that, I think this would be a good time, and maybe you could share what would you recommend as a margin profit that a certain type of industry should seek. Maybe that could be a good example.
Well, the easiest way I can do this to go across sectors is not to talk about gross margin, because that varies greatly depending on your business. But let me talk about net profit. And if you show up next week, everybody, you will definitely learn what net profit is. Net profit is the money you have after you've purchased all your goods, paid all your expenses, and then that's the money that's left over from your sales. And so I usually say that regardless of what type of business it is very, very difficult to maintain a successful business with less than about a 10% net profit. Now, what I recommend, I believe that most businesses can achieve somewhere between a 10 to 15% net profit. I believe that there are some sectors out there that could actually achieve a 20% net profit. But by and large, if we're just going to use a rule of thumb, if I was working with any type of business, one of my goals would be to help that business at least have a plan to get to a 10% net profit on an annual basis. Does that answer that question for you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, any other questions that, is somebody monitoring that chat for me?
Yeah, we're looking
Yeah.
at it.
We're looking at
Okay,
it.
good,
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe,
And if any,
maybe in the audience, if the other things that would affect the profitability is the supply chain. Some of you folks that are in the retail business probably had a challenge during the COVID to get your products to your customers because maybe the demand is high, but you just didn't have the products. Or you had a lot of products, but the demand was low because people couldn't go out. And maybe if that affected you, maybe you can ask Steve.
yeah,
about how
well, supply chain. Supply chain is a relationship between vendor and your goods or service, and goods primarily, vendor and goods. If your vendor can't get it from wherever they're sourcing it, and you can't get it, you really are stuck. And that's where we've been over the last year. We have been stuck on some supply chain issues. Now there are some creative things to do. Let's say that you have been getting your stuff primarily from China, which took a ship to get it here. Maybe you could get that same product maybe from Mexico, where it could be trucked in and not shipped in. Or maybe it could be sourced somewhere in the States where it could be railed or trucked. Those are things you need to look at. And once again, that becomes a vendor question. Do I need, if my supply chain, I cannot get my goods in such a way, do I need to consider other options for a vendor to do that? Very, 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 very good question, and one that we have struggled with.
Hi everyone, my name is Emily. I actually wanted to share something in regards to the supplies and how COVID affected our business. Well, as you guys know, my name is Emery. I am one of the owners for AZ Whittier Florist, and for us, what really affected us was flowers. A lot of the flower shipments, they were delayed, or there was a scarce with certain things. One thing that did save us during the pandemic is that we had contracts. So in my contract,
excuse me, there's kind of we can't hear your words completely and you're talking super fast.
Go ahead and do it again. If you can just narrow down the question, I think there's an echo going on in the mic. So go ahead. Just, you can type it in, or you can just go ahead and speak your question again, please.
I think you said you're a florist. I think that's what I got. Is that right?
And she addressed the scarcity of some of the
She went out for a second. I brought her back in right now. I think she got disconnected. Zimri, when you were out of the room, they were asking you to repeat your question. You had a bad signal.
Is your mic on?
All right, I'll bring her back in again. She was in and out. Okay, she should be in now.
Okay, hello. Can you guys hear me now? Sorry about that.
Much better.
There we go.
Okay,
Much better.
Okay, sorry about that. So like I was saying, I'll repeat everything that I said. I'm a florist, and what really affected us during the pandemic was that a lot of flowers were scarce, or the shipments were delayed, or a lot of the workers just didn't want to work because of the pandemic. So one thing that did save us because of that is that in our contract, it does state if for whatever reason we're unable to get the flower, we could go ahead and make a substitution. So for a wedding, they wanted white roses. And for some odd reason, it was so hard to get white roses during the pandemic. Like, they were so expensive because it was very limited for white roses. So there was a lot of issues for us. Even to this day, like, there again, with hydrangeas, it's so hard to get or really expensive because a lot of this stuff is imported from either Mexico or like Colombia or Ecuador. So a lot of this flower, I mean, it could grow locally here in the United States, but it's not the same quality. So a lot of the stuff that we prefer using that has better quality for us is usually imported. So that's one situation that did happen to us during the pandemic that did save us, was just being able to have that contract stated that if a pandemic like this hits, or, for some odd reason, that flower isn't growing anymore, or we're unable to get the shipment. That was one thing that did save us. Just being able to have that statement there just really did help us with that. If not, we probably would have had like a situation with that. But I just wanted to share that with you guys, that, even for us florists, we do sell a product, which is flowers, but we also do provide a service, which is doing weddings and event parties and stuff like that. So that is something that did affect us during the pandemic that I just wanted to share.
I was just going to ask you, Zimri, how many vendors do you deal with on a regular basis?
I have my preferred vendors. During the beginning of our cycle, I was just wandering. Like, it's so funny because in the flower district, it's so huge. So there's so many people. So in the beginning, I just didn't know. It was a learning process for me. But now, 4 years within our business, I could say I probably have 4 preferred vendors that I work with.
Okay.
They have been so great to me, and I know whenever they're unable to find something, they try their best with their vendors to try to get me the product. So out of my whole cycle, 4 that I use on a daily or week.
Yeah, that's good to know. Most businesses usually have somewhere between 3 and 10 vendors on their preferred list.
Just flowers, it's 4, but since I use other products like vases and bases, like containers and stuff that we use for our supplies, I would say 4 in just the flower industry, and then like vases and supplies that we use, I'm gonna say probably have about like 3 or 4 in just like supplies that could include like flower boxes or like wrapping paper or like scissors and floor tape that we use. I'm gonna say about like 4 or 5 in that aspect.
Yeah. So obviously, I mean, that's a good example of why vendors is a group of people you have to be concerned with and have decent relationships with. Thank you for sharing that. That was very helpful.
No problem.
Can I add a point to that, Steve? I'm Mike Huntley. I'm going to be teaching next week. But back to your model with profit. One thing small businesses don't always do is realize that they do have flexibility in your pricing. If you have a product that's in high demand and you have some inventory, there's no reason you can't charge a higher price. Now, obviously the market's going to determine how high that price can be, but there can be opportunities there. If you have relationships with suppliers that have inventory, don't be afraid to adjust your prices and increase your profits, even if it is short term.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Good insight. Good insight.
Thank you for that.
All right. Everybody has it down? People, profit, product. If you will look at those 3 camps, you will be a better business person and you'll have a better handle on your business. All right. I just want to thank everybody for that. And I'll put one last slide up here. No, I'm done with the slide. Okay, so it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Next week, you just heard from the man himself, Mike Huntley. We'll be doing finances 101, understanding your financials. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So what we're going to do next week, we're going to this financial boot camp that we put together each week builds on the week before. So Steve's given you a great overview of how your people and your products and your profit relate to managing your business. And he gets a call when people have a problem with their profit. So now next week, I'm going to drill down a little bit and I'm going to explain to you how to understand the language of accountants. I jokingly say that they create different words for common things just to create jobs for themselves. Don't know whether that's true or not, but I'm going to demystify that for you. I'm also going to common financial reports like a profit and loss statement and a balance sheet. I'm going to explain it on a very basic level so that you can understand it and you can use it to manage your business. And finally, like Steve said, cash is king. So we're going to go through a cash flow model that will allow you to manage your cash and have visibility in the future of when your cash may be getting low. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. And again, it's going to build on what Steve talked about tonight.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
As we come to a conclusion here for the evening, if you can just put in your industry or type of business you're in, so I think that'll help the presenters kind of focus in on, the type of maybe narrowing down to the topics because not everybody's gonna be in the same category. So in closing, I'd like to thank you again for joining us this evening. This, is an hour of your time that you invested in order to better your business. Many thanks again to our general sponsors, Friendly Hills Bank. They offer financing solutions, including lines of credit, equipment, financing, and business credit cards, as well as ACH services and an online mobile banking. You can find more information at friendlyhillsbank.com. As a reminder, this session has been recorded and will be available through the chamber if you'd like to watch it again. We'll see you all next week. And I hope you take away the 3 Ps today and really understand as we build into Mike's, and I look forward to the recording because I will not be available to join you, but to get into what he has to share about the cost that gets involved in running your business and what the net profit's going to end up, and hopefully some language you understand what accountings do. So thank you again. Have a good evening. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you, Quan. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson.
All right.
Thank you, guys. You guys have a great evening.
You too.